Actually, I'm just gonna. All right, let me just make sure we're live. All right. All right, welcome everyone to the next live stream with BGA Insurance. We are going to discuss some Medicare news today. So if anybody has some questions they want to ask, feel free to drop them in the comments section on either Facebook or YouTube. Last week we discussed Medicare Part D, just did some general questions, and Greg walked us through, the basics. And this week we got Joe with us, and we are going to talk about some of the news in the media today, which is Trump signing some executive orders, some of which do directly affect Medicare, or it seems like they will potentially. Joe also took the time to write up an article on BGA Insurance, which we'll have a look at as well. And, so what's going on, Joe? You have any, you want to jump right into it, or is there anything you want to say about Part D before we get into the
No, I mean, good news out of the Trump administration. Again, the article I wrote in there, let's not get too political about this because some people hate Trump, but some people love Trump. But the bottom line is that he's, from day one, I remember during his campaign, he was really after lowering costs for seniors' pockets regarding prescription drugs. Just too expensive. I know myself with the experience over the last 12 years, just watching some people spend about $7,000 a year on prescription drugs, insulin cost, and brand name prescriptions. I have personally, my dad was afflicted with a lot of conditions. So, I mean, his drug costs were very high. So he's signing a few executive orders to try to push this drug plan through to lower costs for seniors. I mean, he's trying to lower costs all across the board. It looks like with prescriptions, but this is really aimed towards Medicare recipient seniors. So I think that's a great thing. And he's also trying to bring manufacturing back to the United States as far as drug labs. That's great because it's going to create jobs, but it's also going to hopefully we're going to be in control of the cost of our prescriptions and how they're made and when they're made and how we get them and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to with this.
Yeah, so what I'll do for everyone, I will share this news article that Joe wrote up. I'll put it in the chat, and then I'll also share it to Facebook, so anyone who wants to read it later can get a nice little summary. There's also a video embedded in case you want to watch the replay of the actual process in place. And then there's actually an article on Reuters that I want to pull up here that brings up sort of the, every piece of it, because it looks like it's actually 4 orders in one. And Reuters actually did a pretty nice job, kind of breaking it down for everyone. So maybe what we can do is go through some of these, and then if there's any questions people want to ask, we can certainly pop over to those. First on the list that Reuters has is that it says they want to pass on rebates to patients. And according to this, it says the rule applies to Medicare Part D, government health plan primarily for seniors, which is what we talked about last week. And it says it would reverse the longstanding practice of PBMs passing a portion of savings back to the health plan itself and pocketing a remainder of this as profit. So what are your thoughts on that, Joe? Is this something, welcome?
Well, I mean, it's kind of unclear there, but I mean, for the most part, I think what he's getting at and what they're getting at is fraud, kickback. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know Greg and I were going to hire a pharmaceutical rep salesman one time. And he told me all the tricks in the trade of what they do when they go to the doctor's offices as far as golf vacations and, all this kind of buy certain drugs. So in other words, if you have a patient who's on high blood pressure, try to sell them the the generic things like that. Well, that's a lot of money going out the door, and a lot of people are profiting from that. And I think that's what they're talking about is passing on those, lowering those costs for seniors by getting rid of a lot of those kickbacks. I mean, there's a lot I can go into it. I'm sure there's a lot more there that they're talking about, but I think that's the main part of it is middlemen cutting out.
Yeah. Yeah. According to this, it says the administration said it could reduce drug costs to seniors by as much as $30 billion, which that seems like a gigantic number. But yeah, I mean, I guess if it's shady things that are going on in the background, I guess, you always want to cut that kind of stuff out of there whenever possible. So, this seems like something positive. Now, again, for everyone, just to be clear, none of this is actually in effect yet. As far as I understand, it has about 30 days for Congress to act on it. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's an executive order, and I think regarding seniors, because that's the market we're in, obviously, I think that'll take things go through and things go well. I'm looking this coming year in 2021. So during the enrollment period, AEP, annual enrollment, October 15th through December 7th. That's when people could change their drug plans. We've reiterated that time and again. But I think if all goes well, we'll be able to start seeing some of these changes for this coming year. So it's very important that people get to us regarding their drug plans. Again, we do, as agents, we do free analyzations every year. If my client emails me their exact prescriptions, dosages, and milligrams, I'm going to email them back with the plan that I think is the best for 2021. I may say, hey, guess what? Your plan that you currently have is still the best for 2021, or no, we need to make the change to ABC company. So the things that we're going to do for our clients, making sure, they're set up for the new year. That's very important. So, hopefully this goes through and we lower their prescription costs.
This next one's interesting. Drug importation, where the executive order instructs the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to permit individuals to import lower cost drugs from abroad. I think in particular, this references Canada. And it also talks about insulin, which is what, Joe, you and I talked about, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so. So this is interesting. I know, of course, it says here that they're skeptical that it would reduce drug prices due to the, potential limited supply. I guess because Canada would have to supply potentially the entire United States if there was like a certain drug or drugs that were cheap enough. But any thoughts on that and how that could affect, Medicare or people with prescription drugs?
Yeah, for years, people would tell me like, oh, when I would go over their drug plan with them or take their prescriptions and try to figure out what the right drug plan is, I would always get from a lot of people like, oh, well, I get that drug from Canada, so don't put that on the list.
Right.
Back in my head, I was always wondering, all right, what's going on in Canada that's so great? So my dad had gotten on the Medicare, and the doctor had him on 15 different prescriptions. A lot of them were expensive. And so I went to one of my clients who year after year told me he gets a lot of drugs from Canada. And I talking to him about it. And there's a lot of Canada pharmacy up there that we dealt with. And they just get a lot of their brand name drugs get approved as generics a lot faster than the United States. I don't know what the reason is. A lot of bureaucracy goes on here in the United States. So that's what I'm guessing. They have a lot less bureaucracy up there on getting things approved. But the bottom line is a lot of my clients, and I even had my dad ordering prescriptions from Canada, keeping it off the Part D drug plan. So, further being able to further stay out of the donut hole. Now, I'm not recommending, I'm not going to sit here and make a recommendation that everybody does that, but it's worked, and I see it working. So, based on that, getting back to this subject, it looks like, we may be able to get some of those costs that people are, in Canada down here in the United States.
Okay, I gotcha.
However that happens, we don't know yet, but get caught onto that, and hopefully it works.
So is that a decision, if somebody wants to get a drug from Canada, is that a decision from the doctor or is that a decision from the insurance company?
I'm sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I think we're breaking up just a little bit. If somebody wants to get a prescription from Canada, is that a decision that the insurance company makes?
Well, I know right now as it stands, when people do buy prescriptions from Canada, they still need a prescription from the doctor. It's not like I could just call up Canada and ask for insulin or, a cholesterol medicine and they'll send it to you. They definitely want a doctor's prescription for it. So they run like a standard pharmacy.
Right. Okay.
It's still going to work the same way. We don't know that yet on how that's going to work, but
oh, I think we lost you for a sec.
still be the same, the same way if they're getting from the United States at those prices. So we don't know yet. But the bottom line is you still needed a prescription to purchase drugs from out of the country.
Okay. So we do have a question from the audience. We have Jerome, who says, Joe, my doc prescribed me a new drug that I was not on last year. My current plan charges a lot for it. When can I change plans to find something cheaper? I'm assuming that's going to be the annual enrollment period, but what are your thoughts, Joe? Oh, it looks like we're
October 1st. We get all the new rates and all the plans that come. All the plans come out with their. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're breaking up just a little bit.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
So the bottom line, the answer to that question is if you're taking a prescription now that's costing too much and there's the generic's not going to work, October 1st is when all the new plan rates come out for these plans and all the the cost of the prescriptions and the monthly premiums. So, again, if you email your broker every script that you take, the exact name. So if you're taking the brand name or you're taking the generic name, list that name with the dosages and milligrams. October 1st, we'll have all that new information. We were able to email you back. October 15th is when you could actually make the decision and change, and will take effect January 1st for the new year in 2021. So that's how that works.
Yeah, I think you guys are actually working on, Greg and I have had an idea to work up a very convenient drug prescription form that you guys can fill out. And, if you have a new drug or you want to add drugs to, what you need to send over to Joe, we're going to come up with, we have a convenient form, online form we're going to have people fill out to make it nice and easy so they can, find out what their changes might be.
Yeah, it's a great form. So that's something that we're definitely going to work with our clients this year. Makes it a lot easier because there's a lot of guesswork. I'll ask my clients to email me, and if they're taking the generic, sometimes they give me the brand name. Well, that throws the pricing off.
Right, right, yeah.
We get it down to a science for you because we want to make sure that you're paying as less money as possible, but having the right plan. Okay, so I think this form is going to work out really well. So it'll get us the correct information, so there won't be a lot of going back and forth and a lot of confusion. So that should clear up a lot of things.
Okay. And then we have another question from Mary Thomas that says, how will Trump's new plan affect my current Part D plan?
Well, hopefully for the better. Again, bringing down the cost of these prescriptions. We don't know exactly yet, but we will know this coming October if all goes well and these plans get through, these executive orders come through. Just put it this way, your brand name drugs that if you're taking any brand name prescriptions, they're going to come down drastically. Because like he said, he's talking about capping insulin at $35 a copay. So we don't know how that's going to count along as you're out of pocket towards the Medicare donut hole yet, but that's something that we're going to find out at the beginning of October. So again, like I said, make sure you email your broker or myself, the exact prescriptions you're taking by, come October 1st. We'll have a head start. We'll be able to get you that info for the new year.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's just going to depend like what prescription drugs you have on how it would affect your Part D, it sounds like.
Exactly. If somebody's taking 3 generics and their retail cost is $2, it's not going to affect your Part D plan at all. But if you're taking insulin or if you're taking another brand name prescription, maybe Benicor, because that's a brand name drug that's prescribed a lot, that's going to be a big difference. So we're going to find out this coming October.
Yeah, that should be really interesting. I mean, that would really shake things up. I mean, people could get a lot of really good news on the cost of drugs, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, this is exciting news. So, I mean, this is something that we got to keeping a close eye on over the next several weeks.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll just continue down the list here. If anyone else has a question, feel free to answer it or ask it on either Facebook or YouTube, and then we'll answer it for you. So I think we talked about this a while back, Joe, but part of this executive order seems like it has to do with insulin specifically. And I guess this piece is actually what we discussed previously on the cost of insulin coming down. It sounds like.
I can't read it on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can say. So it says Trump ordered certain healthcare providers to sell insulin and injectable epinephrine at greatly reduced prices, especially to patients who have no health insurance or very little coverage. So I don't know if that ties into what we were discussing last time with insulin, or if this is actually something new.
Well, no, it ties in this is part of this, but again, he's looking to cut prices across the board, not just on insulin.
Right.
This is something he spoke about in his early days of campaigning. This is not something new. It's not. I know a lot of critics are saying out there, well, he's trying to boost his polls, and this is something that he's been working on for a long time. I know that from the very beginning. But the bottom line is that you know, this goes through, won't take the insulin, or they'll take small dosages of it because they can't afford it. And that's why this is going to help a lot of people with diabetes right across the board. It's going to be, it should be pretty incredible if this comes to fruition for them. Because I know I have a lot of clients who, when it comes to insulin, they take a lot less to make it last. And, because they just can't afford the full dosages that they're supposed to take. I've said.
All right. And then the last piece here, this one probably is the most interesting to me, which is the most favored nation rule, which says this rule, if implemented, would require Medicare to tie the prices it pays for drugs to those paid by other countries. Specifically, it would only pay a price for a drug that matches the lowest price paid among foreign governments. Because Medicare is currently prohibited from negotiating the prices it pays the drug maker. So that's really interesting. That seems like that would be a huge change potentially.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to bringing back manufacturing of these prescriptions in the United States to cut those costs because they're realizing, look, we can get some of these drugs for a lot less money out in some other countries. So that's going to tie into manufacturing, I think. Because it's just listen, let's face it, most of our drugs come from China or India at this point.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So we're paying a high price. We're paying whatever they're requiring us to pay for those prescriptions. So we don't have too much of a choice. So this is just going to open up. This is almost like opening up the borders for healthcare, where Trump is talking about, making healthcare competitive. Why should there should be 5 companies selling health plans in, like, let's say, state of New Jersey? Why not open the borders and open it up? This brings down pricing. So that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, it's good. It's certainly going to be interesting. I guess we'll see what happens. I know apparently there was a meeting with some drug executives. Some people are already saying that this is going to upend the industry, which could be a positive upending of the industry, but a lot of headlines being made on this topic. So of course it's brand new and early, so we'll see what happens. But again, what I'll do is I'll share the article that Joe put together so you guys can read it, share it around on Facebook.
Well, I think a lot of those executives are a little nervous because now we'll be pulling money out of their pocket. Out of their pocket. So it's gonna. I think this may turn the world upside down on this in a positive way. You
would hope so.
At least for recipients of these prescription drugs.
Yeah. So we will certainly see how that shakes out. But I can see why there's going to be truck companies that are not going to be happy with this if you're taking money directly out of their pockets,
Well, listen, the way I look, we have to be in some sort of control of this. I mean, in China, we're basically, we have our hands tied. We have to rely on China for our prescriptions. And, if we bring back the manufacturing to the United States, again, it's opening up jobs, make things more competitive with the drug industry. I just look at it as a plus for America. If we bring back manufacturing of prescription drugs. I never understood why it went over there to begin with, and we allowed it to go on this long. But again, not to get too political, if we could bring back manufacturing, it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. So it sounds like for anyone watching, for existing clients that, this annual enrollment period, you're going to want to have all of your drugs ready to go on a list. We're going to have an easier to fill out form that allows you to pick the exact dosage and kind of help out. We have a comment here from Jerome that says this will be amazing if passed. Yeah, it's one of those things where we have to just see what happens. This is still early stages.
Well, it's an executive order. I know Trump gets accused a lot for using executive orders, but this is a good thing. So who cares? At this point, Congress is never going to pass these bills. They haven't done it in years under past regimes. not use it. I always say, why not use an executive order for this? This is going to help out a lot of people in the United States. Now, with this pandemic, I mean, Greg and I and our agents, we modeled BGA Insurance Group as an old-fashioned business. So I think the next time we speak, I'd like to, hopefully we can get some of our clients on here or prospects, because, how are we going to do business in the future? We go to people's houses and sit down at a coffee table or in their kitchen or their living room, and we show them exactly how Medicare works and, what the right plan is to get and the right drug plan for them, whether it's Medicare Advantage, whether it's original Medicare. How is this all going to work this coming annual enrollment? I mean, it's going to be a pretty interesting way to do business. Right now, I would say 99% of our business right now phone at this point. It's working. Yeah. People are in tune with technology. But again, this is, during annual enrollment, people really like to see somebody in person. I don't know how this is going to affect this year's business, and people trying to get help on which Medicare Advantage plan to choose, or original Medicare, or which drug plan. So it's something to talk about in the future, and hopefully we can get a few people on and get some feedback on this. We come in with masks, I mean, whatever we have to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of businesses where face-to-face is, just how it goes down. And the ton of businesses are going to lose that aspect of it. And, on one hand, there's a convenience because you don't have to go anywhere. But on the other hand, I mean, it's good to just sit down and talk to somebody, get to know them, because in situations,
drug plans, I mean, with prescription drug plans, it's easy to do by email and over the phone. It's not a big deal. But I've already met with those clients. So, I mean, for me,
yeah, exactly.
Sit there and go to someone. I already have a relationship with somebody. But during annual enrollment, there's a lot of new prospects. And, you like to meet somebody up front first before you're signing them up for their original plan. Are they going to be comfortable with it? So, there's going to be a lot of questions going into this annual enrollment, how we're going to do business with new clients. With our current base right now, I mean, I'm doing fine. I'm on the phone with my clients. I get a lot of referrals. Referrals understand that I've worked with their friends or their family members, so they're not adverse to doing business over the phone for the first time because they know what we're going through as far as this pandemic goes. But come October, all these people are going to want to make changes to their plans. Are they going to be nervous about having us in a house, or are they going to want to be on telephone? So it's something to talk about maybe the next time we get together on this.
Yeah, Jerome says, can we handle everything over the phone or via computer? If you want to change your drug plan or insurance, I'm still hesitant to meet anyone in person. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be that way. I mean, that applies to almost all businesses. I mean, some people don't even want the cable guy or plumbers coming into their house. So, I don't think that's out of the ordinary.
Well, and that's a good question. Even though we just covered it, it's still a great question, because here, I mean, you have a lot of 65-year-olds who they're getting on Medicare for the first time, but you know what? They're still doing business over the telephone and things like that, and they may be comfortable over the telephone. Maybe they don't want you in their house, and they're fine doing business by the telephone and not meeting you. But when you sit down with an 80-year-old person who's not used to technology and is not going to understand everything over the telephone, when we show them things, visually, it's easier for them. Okay, so how is that handled? The older clientele. That's what I'm worried about, is those people not being able to get the help. I mean, I'm able to explain everything over the phone very well, and people understand it when I go through it with them. But that 80-year-old person, they need a lot of visuals. They're not, to talk over the telephone and numbers and things like that and charts. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think even there's a lot of people that had to learn how to use Zoom and all of these new screen sharing and virtual conference, software that's coming out to do their individual jobs. People of all ages, but somebody who's 80 years old, I mean, it might be a struggle for them to get a webcam and all this stuff set up. So you could probably share your screen with them like we were doing earlier, but how are they going to, are they going to be able to enable that?
Yeah, well, and that's where with BJ, we're technology. As far as technology goes, we're pretty good at it. As far as advancing, as far as myself, I haven't used the screen yet on the computer with anyone. I've done everything by telephone. I'd like to move in that direction because, again, if I can't meet somebody for the first time, at least we have a visual with each other. Okay.
Right.
And again, people may not want that, but I know the older clientele, they need a person-to-person consultation. That's what they rely on. And that's how we fashioned our business when we opened up EGA. So, there's a lot to think about over the next 2 months on how this is going to work.
And then we got, looks like we got one more here, which we kind of covered a little bit. Will Trump's plan be in effect before or during the enrollment period this year? Yeah, Joe, I think you covered that a little earlier, but it sounds like it's one of those things that, the enrollment period isn't until October. So as far as I understood from this article and some others was that there's about 30 days before Congress would have to act on the executive orders. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but what are your thoughts on that question?
I'm just going to take a guess and say, listen, if this gets approved in the next 30, 40, 50 days, I mean, that's still before October 15th.
Yeah.
Looking at this enrollment period that these changes would happen. I'm already convinced that these, the drug administration, the companies are kind of gearing up for this anyway. They know it's coming. So
Right.
I'm sure they have answers. So we'll know some more information, I guess, in the next 30 days once, Congress has made a decision on this.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been running about half an hour here. I don't see any other questions. If anyone has one last final question, go ahead and toss it in there. Like Joe said, the enrollment period isn't till October, but it'll come around October 1st is when you're going to want to especially have your drugs and everything ready to go if you're thinking about changing plans or if you have something new. You can visit the link I'm showing on screen, bjinsurance.net/Medicare quote. If you're new or if you just want Joe or Greg to take a look at your current situation, your current plan, and you can send over your information and we'll do that for you. But other than that, the only final question I have, Joe, is can you finally play Back in Black on that drum set back there?
I can.
I think the last time we talked, you were supposed to have learned Back in Black by now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress.
Okay, all right. So I'll take that. As a no.
I'll just say this: I could play drums better than Greg can play a guitar.
I believe that.
That I know. Yeah.
As a guitar player, I'll rip on some of the drummers out there and say that drumming is a lot easier than playing guitar. So.
You're out of your mind when you say something like that.
Although drummers are extremely important to a band. They're the backbone of the band.
Well, they are the band, basically.
Okay.
We're doing two different things at once with our feet and our hands. And if there's no beat, listen, I can get any generic guitar player to play guitar. You need a good drummer and a good bass player.
Yeah, that's true. You need the rhythm. Do you have the rhythm, Joe? I don't know.
I do have the rhythm.
All right. Well, I guess one day we'll find out. All right. So just want some final comments. Jerome says, thanks. A friend of mine attended your last video presentation. This is directed at you, Joe, and I recommend I do the same. I learned quite a bit. Look forward to talking to you in person. And then I wouldn't have much faith in a Rangers fan about the drums. He sees that behind you. I love this comment. I might just leave this comment up. I might just leave
I
this
am in my sports man cave, so this is where, through the pandemic, this is where I basically lived. So, I played a lot of golf, too, during the pandemic because it was healthy and you're outside. But other than that, I'm doing what everyone else is doing, trying to stay safe.
As a Flyers fan, I might just leave this comment up permanently across every video that we do. So.
It'll be an exciting season this year.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen. And the Phillies, they just played the Marlins, and the Marlins just got the whole thing canceled down.
Well, they screwed it up. I think they knew some of these players, or they didn't test these players when they were supposed to, and they just let. I guess you're going to do this. You got to be careful, there's not. Well, how am I? I just don't understand how this is going to get off the ground with the NFL and hockey. When
I know, yeah,
you're out in left field. What are you doing? How is this happening? So,
yeah, if we get a whole round 2 of the whole shutdown thing, and this applies to the enrollment period, we might actually be in another full shutdown come the annual enrollment period, which would mean that you pretty much would have to do your Medicare appointments, everything strictly online or by phone.
Yeah, that's that'll cement that decision. So
yeah. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But All right. So that does it, I think, for this week's video. We'll come back in maybe a week or two. And if there's any news, we'll talk about it. And then if anyone has some questions they want to ask, feel free to join us and do so. So
follow us on Facebook. You'll know when the next YouTube we have in 2 weeks. And,
all right.
I think maybe we will talk about the pandemic or what we're going to do during annual enrollment.
Yeah, so you guys, if you don't subscribe to us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, and then you'll get a notification about when we go live. And then you can also like the Facebook page if you haven't already, and that should show you when the next video is going to show up. So until then,
okay, great.
Talk to you all you guys later.
Stay safe.